Good day, family. It's Kayal Dewan coming to you once again. I hope you are having a wonderful week. I know it's not the Sabbath, but this was in my heart to speak to you on this day. And with that, let's say a prayer. Father Yah, come to you once again. We come to you with an open mind and an open heart. We come to you seeking your knowledge and seeking your strength and seeking your wisdom. Father Yah, we come with to seek your peace. Father Yah, I pray, Father Yah, that all those who have an ear to hear today will not just reject, but hear and listen. Father Yah, I pray that you touch my heart and touch my words and that you work through me so that people will know that this is a word that's coming from you, Father Yah. Father Yah, I just love you so. I love you with all my heart and all my mind and all my soul. And Father Yah, I wish everyone did the same. With that, Father Yah, I pray for those who are troubled and healed and sick, hungry. Father Yah, just touch their hearts and their mind and their bodies and make them stronger, make them whole. And with that, Father Yah, I'm going to say hallelujah through your son, Mashiach Yahushua, name, our King, our Savior, our friend, our mentor, our mediator. Hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, family. Today is a unique class because I know there's a heaviness on all our people hearts. What we call so-called black people. You know, I don't like saying black. I always say because we're beautiful brown, and black is a derogatory term that they use, and that's why they call themselves white, in which they're not white. They are pale or red, and we are not black. We are brown or tone or caramel. We are a beautiful color, but that ain't this class today. So we got to get away from calling each other black too. You know, that's a term they use for mourning and sadness and when we teach our kids that we're black, a subconscious part of us teaches our kids that knowing that black mean evil, black mean dark, black mean this, and the part of our brain will always go back to that. But if I tell my child that they are golden brown, they are caramel, you know, and then they may get some excitement inside of them. But again, that's a whole nother class. So I may say black people every once in a while, and I'm only saying it to make it easier for you all to understand. Because if I say brown, you're gonna think I'm talking about the black and brown people, and then it gets confusing. Okay, so I may just say black people. Now the class today is on my heart because of the Kamala Anthony verdict. Yes, I normally don't uh, get into these types of talk, but I think today is needed. Uh, and my talk is just not about Kamala Anthony in in his case, in his when he's been charged for 35 years for murder, and we all know that was simply self-defense. You know, one of the things that scares me most, or made me uh, really concerned about Kamala Anthony, was that I could have easily been him. Because even when I was growing up, I carried knives. I was in the project. I carried knives on me, not to intentionally find anybody to hurt, but just for simple protection everywhere I went. You know, the hypocritical part about the white tea people arguing that he may have had a knife or not is the most ridiculous thing that I ever heard. These are the same people who went around saying that they Second Amendment rights and they have a right in Texas of all people to have carry to have carry-ons like guns. These are the same people that that believe that you can have a gun in a church or you can have a gun in a any situation in any open area, and yet they want to sit there and tell you to your face, and say, why did he have a knife? This is the most hypocritical and ridiculous thing I have ever heard. If he would have carried a bazooka around with him in Texas, I would have been okay with that if it's legal because they do the same thing. They carry arms with them, knives with them. whatever you name, especially in Texas, rifles on the back of their trucks. But that was the most ridiculous. Whether he had a knife or not, to me, was irrelevant. Me, I had knives growing up. With me, when I walked the streets at night for protection, just like you have a pepper spray or uh, um, you have a stun gun or a taser. So what? Sometimes people just need extra protection, especially being Carmelo. He was only 130 pounds minus around a bunch of white tea people. Hell, he need a weapon. Tell you the truth, he should have been armed because ain't no way I'm going to be in an area along a bunch of white tea people. I'm sorry, without some kind of weapon because they're always looking to hang you or lynch you or whatever. You need something to protect yourself. These people, these people. I'm going to say this, and a lot of you are not going to like this because I know you got family members that are probably white tea. And it's not being mean, but it's in their nature to kill. It's in their nature to harm. It's in their nature to be destructive. They were created that way. Book of Jubilee tells you that. But I'm not going into the Bible. Certain peoples were created for certain things. And the white tea people was created for destruction. It is what it is. This is why in scripture it tells you that they're going to be total destroyed in the Bible. It is what it is. Their crimes have reached the heaven. They're born lions. I ain't going in the Bible study. I already done that. Now, is every one of them that way? Every single one white tea person is that way? No. I give you 95% of them. That's just my opinion. But just like Malcolm X said, if you got a freaking barrel full of snakes and there's few snakes that are poisonous, do you stick your hand in the barrel to try to figure out which one is which? No. You know, they always grouping you all together anyway. So what freaking difference? They always telling you a black man and you this and you that because you black. What's the freaking difference? So even if you group them all into what they are, the nature they have, which is rapists and murderers and planet killers and serial killers and I mean that's their nature. But even if you group them all into that, then so be it. It wouldn't bother me none. Long as you are careful and understand that's their nature. Don't be fooled by about a simple kindness like giving you blankets like they did the natives on the Trail of Tears and then killed a lot of them by giving them blankets filled with smallpox. You know, all acts of kindness are not acts of kindness. There's always something behind it, especially when it comes to them. So before we start, I'm gonna go down a list because I don't want you to think this is just about Kamalo Anthony, even though that is a tragic thing, I believe. That young man that's going to be charged, and I'm going to pray in my heart that the Father reduce this sentence or make it so way where it can be appealed, and these crooked judges and all these YT people who have anger and resentment in their heart, uh, somehow it's changed. Now, that's all we can do. No, it's not really all we can do, but that's what we can do at this time. Now, excuse me, I'm gonna go into later how I feel about things we can do, and I'm not talking about people start the civil war. Civil war would never be won by black people, okay? Because that's not our purpose. The Most High is going to take revenge on us. I mean, they're 70% of the population. They are correct. Most of them have guns. They are correct. Most of them are well trained with guns. They are correct. Most of them are willing to kill you. They are correct. A lot of our black people are so scared of guns, don't even want to fire guns. They and they don't have the nerve, or they don't, not even necessarily the nerve, they just don't have the heart to harm another person because we wasn't built that way. Now I do, but not everybody has that. That's something you have to learn. But hey, I was in the military for 20 years. So when we think about that, we think about everybody at different levels according to this, to their walk. But I tell you one thing, we all need to wake up. So I'm gonna right now, I'm gonna give you some names so you won't think this is just a one-time thing because we tend to forget. That's what we do. We go back into our comfort zones and we freaking forget. And then I'm gonna come with you and tell you my truth about all of this. George Floyd, murdered in Minneapolis in 2020. You know, kneeled on his neck, cried out to his mother, I can't breathe. Breonna Taylor, fatally shot in her Louisville home in 2020 by the police officers, naked in her bed. Ahmaud Arbery, even though he did get some justice, but it wasn't enough. Just jogging down the street, minding his own damn business, and then he get pulled over and he gets shot by a couple of hicks. Trayvon Martin, everybody know Trayvon Martin and his Skittles, coming from the store with his Skittles, and that fool comes up to him and wrestling him down and end up killing him in Florida. Michael Brown, an 18-year-old who was shot and killed in 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri. Tamir Rice, not a 12-year-old playing with a play gun at a park, and the cop just shot him in the first, what, I think it was 20 seconds of seeing him. He was black. Eric Garner, choked. You remember in 2014, the chokehold in New York City, and they choked him out over cigarettes. Freddie Gray died in a fatal spinal cord injury suffering from the handcuffs of the back of the Baltimore police van. They just threw him in the back of the van in handcuffs, didn't secure him, ended up breaking his spine. I mean, there can be many more. And today we can add Kamala Anthony as being unjust. Some of the people that was charged. Now, Kamala Anthony wasn't killed, but he was unjustly charged. And there's some people, because I'm going to go over just some brief, just a reminder to you people that they don't like you. And I'm going to go into that. They have never have, and they will never will. Now, some of the unjust in charge, the overcharged people were, Kamala Anthony, he's the latest. Kamala Anthony. Overcharged, charged for something he did not do. Charged or overcharged, one or the other. But he's charged for self defense, and I sympathize with that young man because I know I could have easily been in that situation where Kamala Anthony was growing up. Because I carried a knife on me, and I know 4 white boys try to attack me. Hell yeah, I would have stabbed them. But unlike Kamala Anthony, I wouldn't have been trying to escape. I know me. I would have stabbed all 4 of those bastards in my self-defense. And I wouldn't have had no doubt about that. And not that I'm a violent person, but I believe in self-defense. I would have never attacked them on my own. I would have never bothered them. But I sure in the hell would have protected myself. And I would have did what I needed to do to make sure my enemy cannot get back up to harm me. That's what they teach their kids. That's what they do. So I have great sympathy for that young man because I know, and I thank the Most High that I was never in that position that I had to defend myself against YT people like that because I know it wouldn't have turned out the way they thought it would have. Now some other people that were I believe was mischarged and served unnecessary time. Bill Cosby, be honest with you. And I think part of that was because he wanted to buy a network, and then he wanted to buy a network. And you can say what you want about Bill Cosby. He always promoted black excellence all the time. Think about every show he ever made, black excellence. and he wanted to buy NBC, and they had to stop that because he was on the verge of buying it. And on his channel, he was going to promote black excellence, and they could not have that. They could not have that. They had to destroy him. That was part of his destruction. I even believe Diddy is unfairly charged. Look at the Epstein files. All these rich people, all these people doing all these things, all their names on these things, all these indications, but yet not one of them has been charged. But Diddy, yet he's sitting in crime for not children but adults. And if no one don't see the hypocrisy in that, I don't know what to tell you. Now we know the biggest one is sitting in the White House. Huh. Now some names you probably don't know about. I'm gonna give you some. Unjustly charged, Ricky Jackson, wrongly convicted. His name Ricky Jackson, wrongly convicted of convicted in 1975 of murder and sentenced to die based on a coerced confession from a 12-year-old boy. He spent 39 years in prison before all charges are dropped. Think about that. Ronnie John Long, accused of rape and targeted by the police who concealed evidence. He was charged with severe offense and spent 44 years wrongfully in prison before being pardoned and freed. 44 years. These are our people. Taylor, Gary Taylor, convicted of first-degree murder as a 17-year-old student after being arrested during a 1974 desegregation busing incident. He was overcharged as an adult, received death penalty, and spent 42 years in prison before exoneration. I mean, you know what? You can go on and on and on and on. And for some of you out there who say, "Oh, I believe in this system," sometimes I think y'all on acid or something. Sometimes I think y'all on a permanent high. But hell, even the white tea people don't even believe in the system, and they get all the advantages. But yet, our people will walk around talking about, "I believe in an American system. I believe in the judicial system." What indicates to you anywhere that you are truly being fair, treated fairly? Where? What? It's confusing. So the question to you is, why do you believe in this system that constantly fails you and kills your people? Why do you believe in a system that ain't never was designed for you, was never to help you, was never to do anything for you, but in fact was amended, and more constitution amendments were created and laws were created to oppress you? It was designed to keep their foot on your neck. That's a fact. You know, the Declaration of Independence is what said all men are created equal. And that was in 1776 when it was created, and you were a slave. Hell, you didn't get your freedom until June 13, 1866. And then it was then ratified July 9th, 1868, 2 years later. You know, I just, to me, it's like, it's confusing. I can live in a place and I can accept that they don't like me. I can go to a job and understand that they don't like me. I can go anywhere and understand that they don't like me and I'm going to be treated unfairly. And I could use the rules and the laws within their policies and their guidelines to try to make it as fair as possible. I get that. I did that for most of my life throughout the military, throughout the government jobs I had, but I had to step forward and I had to be on guard and I had to be open and I had to not be afraid. That was the key. I was not afraid. I pushed for the rights that I supposed to get, whether it was a job or whether it was in the military. It didn't matter to me. And if anybody know me, And they knew me in the past. They would say whether I was Sergeant Coker or I was Mr. Coker. They would say he has always been that way. He did not. I do not have that fear. I do not fear man, and I do not fear death. And I know a lot of people say that, but I mean it. I mean, on December the 18th, 1865 was when they first they adopted the part in the United States Constitution to officially abolish slavery. That was in 1865. It was ratified in 1866. You know, now I'm going to talk about because I'm going to go into a little later about what this whole thing is about. But I wanted to create a setting in your head so that you can understand that it ain't gonna never be fair to you. It was never meant to be fair to you. I say this all the time. If I'm a conqueror of a country and my people conquered yours and my relatives died on that battlefield, as no matter how ruthless they were or how evil they were or how crazy they were, if they raped, they killed, they murdered you, they did whatever they had to do to keep you oppressed so that one day my grandkids, can still be leading and still be in charge. That is who they are. They have no souls when it comes to that. It's about keeping their generations in charge. Why would I or my grandkids give up something that my great great grandfathers died and were so evil and so wicked in making sure I have? They did a lot of raping. They did a lot of killing. They did a lot of stealing. They did a lot of lying. They did a lot of everything under the sun that is evil. They did. So that I, today, as a white tea person, would be where I'm at today. So why, as a white tea person, am I just going to freely give that up to you? Anybody thinks this is a fool. That's why it will never change. What they say out their mouth are words. But let me go into some things that get you, because I know you have what I call your happy Negroes. The happy Negroes who say, "Oh, the Constitution before me," or "I stand with the flag," or "I stand BS BS BS." They ain't never stood with you. These are the fools. These are the people we gotta recognize that are gonna always trade on you because they happy with the crumbs that they get from their oppressors, and they don't want it to change. They happy with the crumbs. Now, some of the things that you got to think about throughout the years to show you that they never care for you. I'm gonna give you some. Now we gonna go from the beginning to the end. The first one is your enslavement. Over 250 years, you were enslaved, even though the Constitution and the Supreme Court, when it said Dred Scott versus Stanford deemed black people inferior and denied them citizenship, and this was in 1857. They openly said you're inferior and you're not considered a man. So you don't have the inalienable rights as the whites because all men are created equal, but you weren't considered a man. Then later you were three-fourths of a man. It had to do with the voting, but that's a whole different story. Now that was your enslavement, and then you had the black codes and convict leasing. And that was following the Civil War when your people fought a hard battle and they didn't even get their freaking GI Bill. And anyway, I'm gonna go into that, but they fought a war, a civil war to abolish slavery, and then the black code. Well, was the vacancy laws. The vacancy laws was the criminalization of the newly free population. This was utilized to lease black prisoners out of the force, unpaid labor in what became known as the convict leasing. So that was incarceration. That's the same thing as the three strike law. It was just reacted again because they knew at the time that the black neighborhoods was infested with the crack because they put it in there in the neighborhoods. So they needed labor. So they created and they built more prisons. And that made millions and billionaires. And then they used that. It's the same thing as the freaking black code laws. Now you can just call it the three strike laws. They never changed their tactics. They just changed the names. That's it. But they hated you back then on the black code laws, and they hated you then in the three strike laws. If you don't get that, you gotta be slow by now. Nothing changes. That's why so many black men are incarcerated because a lot of them are falsely accused. We all know who commit most of the crimes, not only in America, throughout the freaking world. The white people. I'm not going to go into history of that. Just look at colonization. Look, it takes you 2 seconds to realize who is the most dangerous people on this earth, and it ain't black people. And if you think that, you're a fool. So I ain't gonna even bother wasting my time with you. Discrimination of housing policies, another one. We know what that was about. The 20th century federal program institutionalized housing inequality and wealth disparity. Loans to blacks weren't allowed. Loans to whites were, especially at the GI Bill. They were basically giving them homes, building them homes. Not us, them. So I know you have a lot of so-called black bad wenches and so-called black idiotic men who run around here saying that everything's fair and you can pull yourself up for your bootstraps, and then you know that's bullshit. White people don't pull themselves up for their bootstraps. Hell, somebody holding the strap for them. They always been lazy people. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. They never want to work as hard as the rest of the people because they always feel like they should have the advantage. Basically, it should be given to them. That's why they can do J6 and go on and attack the Capitol and they have no concern. You know for a fact if it was a bunch of black people that attacked that Capitol or J6, it would have been thousands and thousands of dead black bodies on that lawn. You know that and I know that. But that's where that white privilege comes. That's that white supremacy. That's where all that comes out of them. Discrimination and housing, that was just one of many. We ain't gonna talk about the areas they destroyed that we build. I know the most famous one is in Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. But there were many others, riots in 1990. It was many other towns, the New York, Times Square, that we lived peacefully, and they came and destroyed. That's only probably one of thousands, hate to say. Mass incarceration, beginning in the 1970s. You know, and you had the civil laws then in 1970, then you had mass incarceration, then you had the strict voter IDs. They have always put obstacles in our way. Now, I hope we at the point that we can understand, because this is what I want you to get. I want you to get. I hope you are at this point where you can understand that they don't like you. They will never like you. They will only use you for what they can get. Can we accept that? See, acceptance is part of growth. If I know my enemy wants to only hurt me, if I know my enemy only wants to use me, if I know my enemy only wants to sacrifice me if needful. If I know my enemy do not have my best interest in mind, if I know my enemy is my enemy, that's the most important part. If I know my enemy is my enemy, I am going to treat him as such. Does that mean I'm going to be mean to him? No. That means I'm going to be vigilant. That means I'm going to use him before he can use me. That means I'm going to the take my responsibility and use the system that I was given to the best of my ability. But I am never going to put my guard down. I am always going to keep one eye on that wicked bastard. And I am going to defend myself and my family the best possible way I can. And I did say the Jim Crow. I did say the Jim Crow laws. If I didn't, you know about the Jim Crow laws that we also got in the 19th century, in the 1960s. Separation, man. I mean, I think that was a good thing. You know, I never understood this urge to want to be around white people. I never understood that. You know, I grew up in the project, and when I grew up, I had very few uh, encounters with white people. Most of them that I did have was a racist. They yelling at me through a fence, calling me nigga or something like that. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. I called them hunky, and we went on our way. I wasn't afraid of them. I had no fear of them. And in my mind, and be honest with you, I always thought they were weak. I know the movies and TV portrayed them as strong and they these great fighters, but you know, I had fights with a couple of white. They always been weak. I'm not saying that they just weak. They can shoot well, and that's why they can shoot well, because they know they can't fight well. So they got the common sense to understand. I would take the best thing that I have, you know, shooting, and get better equipped with that, because I know when it came to fist fighting, you have a very few that know how to do that. Most of them are weak. And it is what it is. We are genetically stronger than them. We are genetically faster than them. We are genetically more agile than them. We are. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have some that are faster than you, but at the most part, as a whole, we are stronger, faster, and we can absorb more pain than them. Why can't we absorb more pain from them than them? Because, hell, we've been being punished and in pain our whole life, from generation to generation. At one point, your pain endurance is going to grow. But if you hand-fed everything and everybody taken care of, and you got the advantage on everything, then guess what? You will become weak. That's where they're at. Their women are weak. Their men are weak. They're weak. No, don't tell me they're weak in the physical form. Now, do they have a lot of guns and they have a lot of money? Do they have that advantage? Yes. So that is what I want to talk to you about. So what does this come to? Why I'm saying this? You know, like, well, what your idea is now? What do I do about it? I'm here in America. I have to deal. Yes, you don't have to. This is my problem with our people. We always limit ourselves to where we at. We always use a vision of where we at and what we doing at this time. We don't have to be where we at. And if you're an Israelite like me and you believe in this truth and you believe that the Most High will guide you and lead your way, and you see all these signs and you want to live amongst a people, whether they hate you, they do. I mean, think about all the things that they are doing to you. And I'm gonna try to be nice, because it seems like some of our people are slow. And I believe the Most High is taking away all the things that you so highly admire about the United States' so-called black people on purpose. He's taken away your security blanket, which was a lie in the beginning. It was never your security blanket. And he just snatching that thing away from you. And I'm gonna go by them one by one. The first one that he took away, they ain't the first, but lately, the one that he took away was your so-called voting rights. Now they're redoing all your maps in the U.S. Senate and the House. Ah, DEI, which was never even for you in the first place, but it had a look of helping you. They took that from you. They took your DEI. They took your voting rights. You don't think the Most High is stricken this stuff on purpose from you so you can wake the hell up and get the hell out? He's taking away your comfort. He's taking away your lies that make you feel good in the morning. And some of you waking up with your white tee wife or your white tee husband, and you sit next to him saying everything fair, and you know it's a damn lie. Because now you'll have son that is black, have son that or daughter that are black or white. They're gonna have to grow up in the world that they don't want to have voting rights to help them anymore. They don't want to have DEI. They don't want to have college. Uh, I can't remember the word. So they took away your ability to vote in a sense. No, you can still vote. Don't get me wrong. They took away your representation, you know, in the House, in the Senate, in the sense that according to the people in the area, that's what that was about. You know, it's all collected area around black people. Then black people can vote, but they broke it up into 50 parts. Now you got 10% there, 10% there. Now your representation is going to disappear. They took that away from you. They took the DEI for everything. I was glad when they put the rights of abortion to the states. I ain't gonna lie, because we need to stop killing our children. That was never for us to do, and that ain't the Most High. Now, if you done it, repent of it, but don't teach your children to do it. I'm gonna repeat: if you done it, repent of it, but don't teach your children to do it, and let them know that it's not of God. So you have that. You have your DEI. You have your voting rights. Hell, and now with Carmelo Anthony, you can't even defend yourself. Don't you think about that? You can't even defend yourself. That wasn't a clear-cut case of self-defense. I don't want to tell you anybody. In Texas, of all people, all places. Texas. Then you got the Chinese man that's shooting black boys in the back. What the hell? They showing you today. They are showing you today that you mean nothing to them. You will never mean nothing to them. And under this white supremacist government that we have right now, they can openly do that. Now, don't get me wrong, they've been wanting to do that. They ain't changed. They not new. They didn't pop up out of nowhere. They always been there. They will always be there. So when you went around in this delusional world, any of you, looking like me, thinking that they're your friends, when it comes to it, if it comes down to their success of their white country, their white nation, their white children, their white families, and you, what choice you think they're going to make? And if they're part of this, and you say, well, my family ain't part of this, my friends don't agree with this, they don't believe in racism, they tell me this all the time. Yeah, they say anything out their mouth. You let them put it in action. You tell. This is what I made a joke one time. I remember Black Lives Matter when they were doing their parades and stuff, and there was a bunch of white people out there, and the white people was hollering, talking about we believe in your cause and we believe that you're oppressed and stuff like that. I said I couldn't have been out there, and somebody said why? I said because I was out there, I would have shown enough. I would have said, I would have went to them and I would say, so you believe that we're oppressed? They would say yes. Do you feel that we should get reparations? I say yes. Do you feel like you should do your part in helping us? And they were like, yes. You know what? I would have walked them right to an ATM machine and I would say, well, dump your money out of your account and spread it out amongst the people here. And then you say, what sense does that make? Because when they have to do an action, that's when they need to prove themselves. Talk is a bunch of BS. I can say all day that I disagree with this and I disagree with that, but then you say, well, you do something about it. Oh, no, I ain't gonna do nothing. I don't mean it. And that is your friend. Try your friends. Try your friends. Your so-called friends. Try them. Ask them to act on what they say, not words to act. And see how the conversation changes. You don't force them. And don't get mad when they be who they are, neither. They always been that. They will always be that. Nothing changes. You just refuse to see it because your eyes are glossed over with your love for them. The same love they don't have for you. But brothers and sisters, you don't have to be there. I always say the Bible said, I'm not going into Bible verses today, but it always tells you, go back unto your own nation. And your nation is not America. And I know they tell you, well, we were here as the native Indians and they were black. Yeah, everybody on the freaking earth was black. I keep telling people that. We are the beginning of all races. They were Asiatic blacks. Did some of the Africans come over here? Yes. They were the first builders. Dan was one of the 12 tribes was one of the greatest shipbuilders. That tribe. So we moved all over the world. We have artifacts all over this world. We've been all over this world. But if you actually were black people in Africa, from all over the world, were they in America? Yes, they were Asiatic. Everybody at end was Stan, and then Afghanistan, whatever Stan. They're all the same people. They're all Japhet. They're all Japhet, and they came across the Asiatic, the strait into America through Alaska. They look like them. The native Indians look like them. Go to Alaska, they look like them. So don't get caught up because they were so-called black. Everybody was black. The Bible said when the Tower of Babel fell that they spread amongst the world. That means they went all over the world, and all of them were black. Duh. This was even before the Israelites came to be. So there were black people all over the world. Can we get that? Can we accept that? Can we stop worrying about every time we go to a country and they say the Japanese were black? Oh, of course they were black. Everybody was black. If we go to Bhutan, I don't care what you call it. They were all black at first. That's blacks makes every race. Duh. That's not an assignment. That's not even a question. So when I hear silly stuff like that, I just look at people and I say, well, they were all black. What are you talking about? At one time. So what I'm trying to say is, brothers and sisters, be careful once of all. First of all, please be careful out there. Those YT devils are out to get you. Right now they putting false stories out. Like I saw a story today. About a guy named Jason Miller. And Jason Miller was a so-called young man that went to a doorstep and he got shot, and some white guy, Clotwell. I don't even know if it's Stephen Clotwell, I believe. He shot the young man trying to bring a ID and phone to back to the house. Young black boy. I don't think it's true. Now, it could be if somebody can show me an article that is true, but I think it's a lie. I think it's fabricated, and it's to incite or get our people all riled up because they already riled up about Kamala Anthony, and they're trying to get y'all out in the streets to kill y'all. Can I tell you what they're trying to do? They want y'all to riot, but this time it ain't gonna turn out the way y'all think it is. And then the Black Lives Matter, you was under the Democrat, they had to act like they pretend like they care about you. You're on a racist regime right now, and they don't give a damn on how they look or what they do to you. That's why they strict you about your voting rights, their DEI. They doing all that. They don't give a damn. They don't care. This justice system today is not going to be the same. You get out there in the street, you run around protest, you start rioting, and they will kill you, Negroes. That's what they want. They want martial law. They want that. They don't want to do it. They people been marching and protesting for I'm the king law and all that crap, and they ain't done nothing. Why? Because they don't want to hurt their people. They waiting for you to come out there to hurt. You better keep your black butt at home. You want to do that? Get the hell out of that place. That's my point today. Move to your back to your own nation. Gather up your funds. Get the hell out of there. Let them have that wicked system and let those wicked people do their wicked things and let the Most High come and destroy Babylon, which he is going to do. And if you sitting there in Babylon when they get destroyed, you're going to take part in their destruction. You don't have to. You can get the hell out of that wicked place. You can let them have it, that unjust place. And I think the Most High is purposely making sure you understand that you don't have no justice there. You don't even have no real voting rights there. They tore that up. You don't even have any advantages there. Affirmative action, what I was talking about earlier about the college. When they took that from you, so they took away your affirmative action. They took away your so-called DEI was initially for you. They took away your voting rights. They taken away every freaking thing that they so-called gave you. And you're going to sit there and you're going to let them take it because most of this is going to hit deaf ears. And you're going to say, okay, I'm fine with it. They took away your lives. They're taking away your freedom. They just take it, take it, take it, take it. They ain't giving you a damn thing. They won't give you reparations. They'll give an F about you. They give you words that don't mean nothing. They never give you any actions. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about because this was also on my heart. I think it's such a sad thing. I think it's such a sad thing that we have all these so-called black stars and representatives, these sports figures, and all these people who never speak out on our behalf. Not one. You don't hear none of them coming out about Kamado Anthony. They don't even help each other when Kaepernick came out and bowed down. Many of them said not a word. Too worried about their wealth, too worried about their fame, too worried about their money. You don't give a damn about their people. You got to give white people that much. You know, they gave that Metcalf family over $500,000 in donations. I want you to think about that. Our people, I just don't understand. They get a certain wealth. I know it's part of their contract that I believe they made with the Hasatan, the devil himself, not to help their own people. If they help their own people, they're going to lose their wealth or they got something on them. But it comes a time when I call what I call self-sacrifice. You got to learn how to start self-sacrificing yourself for the cause of your people. And most of them don't have that, nor do they want that, nor do they care. They're going to sit back and they're going to watch this happen. There ain't going to be no voices coming out in the black caucus. I don't know. They ain't never been for your people. But your immigrants that run up there, very few non-immigrants that only worry about immigrants and LGBTQ and all those other issues that have barely nothing to do with the black community. And that's all they're going to do. They worrying about you fighting for them to get redistricting correct. And then they ain't going to say a damn word about Kamala Anthony. You ask them, they'll run away and they won't say a word. This is your black leaders. I put the earnest on all our black leaders, from the from the churches to the pews to the rich to the poor. We got to speak out. We got to be willing to sacrifice. We can no longer be afraid. You say you believe in the Most High. Believe in the Most High. I do. That's why I believe in the Most High. He will not allow nothing to happen to you that He will not allow. So you can do the righteous thing. You can do the right thing because being righteous is in our blood. We were created to be righteous. We were created to do the right thing. And that's not talking about forgiving them. We do the right thing with our people, with our neighbors. When the Bible talk about our neighbors, He's talking about the 12 tribes, our brothers and sisters. It's not talking about the other nations. I hate to tell y'all that. Because if He was talking about the other nations, we wouldn't have went in Exodus and killed all the people on the land, their children, the women. No, He's talking about your own people. When He talks about turning the other cheek, He talking about turning the other cheek towards your family member or your family, your friend of your blood. How you know that Levi and Cinnamon went into a town and killed the whole village when they raped his sister? Did they turn the other cheek, or what other cheek you call that turning? He was talking about his own people. And I know a lot of you, or some of you, they listen to it that are Christian, and that's fine. And y'all, if you know how I feel about Christians. I'm an Israelite, so a lot of the Christian beliefs uh, uh, about not keeping the laws and stuff, I don't believe. So you're supposed to keep the laws and stuff. So I'm not going into that. But I know when y'all say turn on the cheek, you're just supposed to let everybody step on you, kill you, do whatever they want to you. And then you just say, okay, when the Bible talk about an eye for an eye, when I think He's talking about an eye for an eye, He's not talking about His brothers and sisters, because He said He would take vengeance, but He's talking about the other nations. Yes. Yes. Just like Levi and Simeon did, an eye for an eye. That was not Israelites. Those were the other nations. That when you use the eye for an eye. But not against your own, not against your own blood, not against your own nation. That is when you apply love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because at the time that law was given, there was nothing but Israelites around. They were your neighbors. Because you were not allowed to associate with others unless they kept your laws and your covenants at that time. So they had to be within your law and keeping your covenant in the Israelite at the time. That was your neighbor. Now with that, brothers and sisters, I'm going to let you go. I love you. I'm going to tell you to be safe. I want you to remember they don't like you. I know that's a hard thing to accept. They tolerate you as long as you don't interfere with their white supremacy and their advantages. You are tolerated. I'm not telling you to give up on the system. I'm saying you can work the system to better your life, but you need to get the hell out of there. You can use the advantages there, move your resources somewhere else, create a better life in another country. It should be Africa. That's your nation. Somewhere in Africa. It's 54 countries here. 54. Pick one. 54. But you need to make decisions, and you need to make them fast, because if I don't think you notice, they're taking everything from you, and the Most High is allowing it to be so, because he need for you all to get out of this comfort zone. He need for you all to stop thinking that you fall under that phony democracy and that phony equality, which you ain't never been equal there. Never. But yet some of you will still believe it, because you got a few more cookies than the guy to your left or your right. And with that, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna tell you I love you, brothers and sisters. I do love you. I am gonna pray for you. I can't tell you what to do, but I only can show you, help you see what is going on. You take care, and may the Most High be with you. All praises to the Most High.